Welcome to Living Astrology Radio with your host, Janet Hickox, human design consultant and intuitive astrologer. At Living Astrology, we are tapping into the wisdom of the cosmos to uplift, empower, and enlighten people to their personal genius. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology. I am your host, Janet Hickox, and I also have with me my co-host today, who is Jason Livanis. Hello, Jason.
Hello, beautiful blue-eyed goddess. How is everything out there in Washington?
It's kind of cool. It's very nice, though. It's beautiful and sunny, and I'm sitting here with cold hands and cold feet because, it's cold. And I just can't seem to put shoes on.
It is gorgeous here in New York City area.
Oh, nice. I noticed your temperatures have dropped some. Isn't that nice? Not to be in those 90s or 80s anymore.
Yes. I am tired of sweating it out to the oldies this summer. I'm very much looking forward to the fall. I think, as you could see from the video upload I gave you for your human design page, that I am completely bald and no beard, ready to come into the new season like a newborn.
How interesting. What happened to No Shave November? Don't you guys do that on the East Coast?
I have never heard of that. But then again, I'm not plugged into a lot of pop culture, as you may or may not know. So tell me about what is going on in this wonderful cosmos. I see we have a lot of focus on Jupiter. So can you do me a favor, a favor, please? Can you tell me what is important about this Jupiter cycle that I keep hearing about?
Well, I had a very Jupiter moment before we started the show today, and that was, I've been, since about middle of July, I've been eating very clean, like no carbs or very few carbs, lots of vegetables, chicken and lean. I had a barbecue potato chip fiend rush before the show today, and now my stomach, I'm feeling like I have this lead brick in my stomach going, why did I let Jupiter get to me? Because you see, Jupiter is this wonderful planet. It's this gas giant, and it is very much like a magnet. It is the largest planet, I suppose, that we could see from, with our eyes here from planet Earth. And it acts very much like a vacuum. Well, I was a vacuum on those Lay's barbecued potato chips.
I can't handle you. You're cracking me up. I have this vision of you sitting there binging on these potato chips now. I wanted to ask you a couple little quick things about this Jupiter cycle. Like, for instance, when we talk about Mercury going retrograde, most people hear the word retro and they think that it's going backwards, when in fact, that it's not. It's just being held stationary in place. Is it because of Jupiter coming by it, or what is the body that's holding it in place?
It's not that there's a body that's holding it in place. What happens is the planets that are faster than we are appear to be looking like they're moving backwards through the sky when they're in their retrograde cycle. Yet all the planets, with the exception of the sun, which isn't a planet, it's our star, appear to be moving backwards at one time or another. But that's because we use Earth as our vantage point. If we were to pretend for a moment that we lived on the sun and we were heliocentric, none of the planets would ever go retrograde. But we're not on the sun, we're on the Earth. And so from a consciousness standpoint, when planets move retrograde, and the further out the planet, the longer it spends in retrograde each year. So, for instance, by the time you get to Pluto, it's about 5 months in retrograde and 6 months or so, 7 months in forward motion. But the further out the planet, the more time it spends in retrograde, which brings us more to those inner processes, the more introverted inner dynamics. So we're growing on the inside as opposed to seeing a whole lot of the changes going on the outside. Like a planet like Mercury, of course, we notice it happens more often in the year because it's so much faster than we are. It only takes 88 days to spin around the sun. And so by the time, it comes back around, it's done with its retrograde motion, and boom, we're back to normal. And that's really short-lived, because then a few months later we get to go through it all over again. And, while Mercury is in retrograde motion, really, because it's ruling communication and in some ways transportation, contracts, things that we sign, we are having to be a little more careful. Electronics, yeah, exactly. So we have to be a little more careful during those periods of time. Now, a planet like Jupiter also has a retrograde cycle. Right now, Jupiter is in forward motion. And our planet Jupiter is really all about growth and expansion. But like me binging on potato chips, growth can sometimes be more of a hindrance than a help, right? Because in astrology, we also look to Jupiter when we have problems like epidemics or pandemics. Or in the human body, when we see something like a cancer or a tumor that's run amok in the body, or an infection that's run amok in the body, we can often look to Jupiter and see where there may be excesses going on. Jupiter and moon contacts, by the way, in somebody's chart are often indicators of overweight, or the propensity to gain weight and the more difficulty in losing weight. It's fascinating.
I think the general consensus with people is they see, Jupiter, the bearer of gifts in Symphony by, Gustav Holst. It's the bearer of gifts. It's all of these wonderful things. You think of it as this benevolent cornucopia of a planet, and people don't realize, like you said, it can definitely have a zinger aspect to it, because I remember talking with you at one point, and you said, Jupiter will give you the gifts after you have suffered through Saturn's lessons. And that to me was so poignant when you said that to me. I thought, oh, God soaks. That, damn Saturn. If you don't learn that, if you don't learn the Saturn lesson, then Jupiter says, it's important.
Now, here's what I really like about Jupiter. Actually, this is something I like about all the planets, but Jupiter in particular, because it represents a growth cycle for us. And it is on a 12-year orbital path around the entire zodiac. So the last time that Jupiter was in Libra would have been 12 years ago, which puts us at about 2004. And I like to be able to look back, to 2004, for example, and see what might have been the excesses, what might have been the growth opportunities that were occurring then. Because now, from my viewpoint, looking back at those 12 years, I can see where I might have gone wrong. I can see where I might have overdone it, overindulged perhaps in some ways. And so it, as a measure of perhaps how to guide myself in the moment in this year that Jupiter is going to spend in Libra, I can look back then and see, okay, what was I doing? And it's not that the same things will repeat themselves, because it's not. Right. But it gives us an idea, a place to start. So for everybody listening, think back in 2004 to 2005, what was going on, what was great, what was not. And I'll tell you another little secret about Jupiter. I was sort of had blinders on, because I really thought that anywhere Jupiter hits in my chart was going to be awesome, right? It was going to be drop dead awesome. And for me,
if Jupiter is in your house of money, all of a sudden you're going to get a windfall of money. Not so
How did you know it was in my house of money? It really is. I mean, it's not that Jupiter's in my house of money, but 2 years ago, Jupiter, or a little more than a year ago, Jupiter was moving through Leo, which sits on my second house.
It's because
and here's my
stalking
thinking.
You.
Yeah, I thought money was going to be stalking me, like coming in hand over fist, and great things were going to be happening. Well, imagine my surprise when Jupiter started delivering me lessons about money, right? About it wasn't just big money coming in, it was big bills, money going out. And so that was kind of a shock. And so I learned a very valuable lesson about Jupiter, is that sometimes the learning and the growth and the expansion isn't about more of something happening, more relationships, more collaboration or so forth in this time period, but it can be about how to stay everything in proportion. to keeping your life proportional. And so I want people to remember that as they're going into this time period, because Libra energy, number one, is about the scales of balance and the scales of justice and the scales of harmony. And there may be a real tendency for us to try to get things, we like overindulge in certain areas. For instance, Jupiter in Libra, last week I think it was, we shared the 3 C's, right? Co-creation, collaboration, and cooperation. But how much of those 3 things is too much, right? Do we give away the farm?
I had a whole different set of C's in my world, but that's besides the point. Just for your listeners, just for the listeners' edification, to repeat, Jupiter does a 12-year cycle moving from one sign to the next yearly. Is that what I'm hearing?
It spends a year in each sign, yes. So the last time it would have been in this neighborhood was 12 years ago. And each time, by the way, these are cycles within cycles. So, you have this cycle of growth that's going on over your whole life based on where Jupiter is in your chart by birth. But then Jupiter's moving through all of these signs, kind of coloring and changing a little bit for each person what that energy of growth is going to be about. So once we look at your personal chart, we get that idea.
Right. I have a question for you then. Okay, given that Jupiter is moving into Libra, what might we expect over this next year's transit, and how is it going to affect our listeners and ourselves personally?
Well, let me start with an R word, relationships, because everything to do with Jupiter and Libra has to do with relationships. And of course, we all have relationships in our life. I'm not just speaking about the male-female dynamic or, the love and romantic relationships. I'm talking about all the kinds of relationships that we have. So it could be, with our families, with our friends, although Libra specifically is more about business partnerships and about our closest intimate relationships. So we might be faced with issues around intimacy. For example, some people are very open and very willing to come together in relationship, and others aren't so much that way. And so we may find that we are addressing issues of intimacy throughout this next period of time, this next year. But the other energy around Libra is Libra likes to create win-win situations or win-win scenarios. I mean, that's how things are best balanced, right? Where everything is sort of in a harmony or an equilibrium. That's where those words like co-creation and collaboration and cooperation come into play, because the more you have of that type of thing in balance with your own needs, the better this Jupiter sort of transit goes for everyone. And, I'm not suffering any illusions here, or delusions, I guess, because, I know that this is going to be a sore spot with people, is relationships. If you're going to grow, then you're not going to just grow by everything coming up roses. You're probably going to grow because there are some challenges. And so Jupiter brings these growth opportunities through some of the challenges that you might face. Let's say you're part of a relationship and you're close to sort of a divorce or a breakup of sorts. It may create an opportunity for you to look at other opportunities to stay together, or ways in which you can heal the relationship. Perhaps the way to heal is to actually move out of the relationship. So everything about relationships can come under sort of that microscope of Jupiter and Libra. There was something else I was just thinking about with Jupiter, in that it tends to be a very magnetic kind of planet, in that in the solar system, it's kind of our vacuum. It clears out the space for us, so we don't here on Earth get hit by as many meteorites and asteroids and things like that, because Jupiter's sort of clearing the space. So in a way, it can act as the attractor to bring you the opportunities for that growth and expansion. So no matter how it shows up in your life, be prepared to work through the issues in your life around relationships and how can we co-create an existence. And I would really watch this election this year, because this ought to be really interesting, because in the natural horoscope, or zodiac, Libra has a lot to do with politics, in terms of how are we able to be diplomatic, right? How can we solve problems diplomatically? And presidential elections anymore are never diplomatic. There's always a bunch of trash and mudslinging and all that kind of stuff going on.
Yes.
This one has not been an exception to that, but let's see how things change a little bit now as we're heading into the home stretch of the election. So,
Janet, we have a full queue of people, and while I want to get to them, I would like if you would just take 2 minutes, please, of time, because this is kind of big deal stuff happening. All of the astrological boards have been lighting up, and I always like to talk about our friends, the eclipses. So can you do me a favor? Give me your condensed Reader's Digest version of this tomorrow's eclipse that's going to be happening, and what can we expect of it, especially since we're going to be having a full moon in Pisces. So if you can, 20 words or less, tell me what the hell is going on with that.
I can give it to you in one word: transformation. I feel like I'm playing Password. Remember that game show, Password? Transformation. Eclipses are game changers, pure and simple, right? They are jacked up full moons and jacked up new moons, at which, depending on whether it's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. This particular one is a lunar eclipse, which means that it can only occur at the full moon. And yay, though we won't be seeing it in the North American part of the world, it will still be effective in our lives, as in things can change. Now, do they all change tomorrow? Probably not. Because the energies of eclipses, we often feel them coming days ahead of time, and they can last beyond the period of time that the eclipse happens. And,
for about a month?
Yeah, it can even be longer. In some cases, the eclipses have patterns where they return. They sort of bite us in the butt every 3 months or so, as in there's a periodic upswell of the eclipse energies. And, if we were to chart all of that, we would see that there were bumps, whatever themes, for example, that you're grappling with today and tomorrow, or maybe from last week even, since the beginning of this at the new moon. You may find that there's this rhythm of every few months you're grappling with that same issue or another facet of that issue. So,
all right. So give me the why is this eclipse important tomorrow? This lunar eclipse in Pisces is going to bring about most likely what? What kind of changes? What kind of transformations?
Well, this is occurring across an axis, Jason. It's not just happening in Pisces. The moon, the full moon, will be in Pisces, of course. The sun at the opposite end is in Virgo. And, I wish you could all visualize this. I may even cast this chart and put it out there later, is that this is not just an issue of the sun and the moon. Because on the sun side, we also have Mercury sitting very close to the sun. We also have Jupiter sitting very close to the sun. All of this, even though Jupiter's now 1 degree into Libra, it's still close enough that it's still pulling in some of the energy from this particular eclipse. At the opposite end, we have Chiron and the moon sitting together. And Chiron is sitting at a place where in March we had the lunar eclipse. So we have some wounding and some healing going on across the angle of, or the axis of compassion. It's the victim-martyr energy across Virgo and Pisces that we're still dealing with. The idea that I'm a victim or that I'm a martyr, I'm here to save everybody. So these energies they're not brand new. By the way, we've been dealing with these energies for a while, but the eclipse, this particular one on a full moon, can bring closure to perhaps some things that have been happening in your life around this victim energy or around this martyr stuff.
Okay.
Might be,
so it's going to punch up the energy, and we're going to probably see, in some direction, good or bad, finality or extension, we're going to see some change.
Absolutely. There shouldn't be anybody out there whose life isn't in some kind of flux or some part of their life in flux right now. And there's a whole host of other planets involved. This is probably one of the most energetic eclipses I've seen in a while, in that pretty much I can draw a connection to almost any planet. You name it, I've got it, sitting here on a list of things that are being hit for us with this particular eclipse and this full moon and sun opposition. So I don't think there's anybody out there who is not going to have some kind of change creeping into their life over the next couple of days and leading up through, the echoes every 3 months or so.
Well, why don't you do me a favor, and I'm going to give you our lady Marina, who is on hold, and you can talk to her about some of the things that are happening in her life.
That sounds like a good plan. Thank you.
Wonderful. Hang on for a moment, and I'm going to bring Marina into you, okay?
All right. Hello, Marina. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's good to hear your voice again, Janet.
Good to talk to you, too. How is life going for you?
Well, I'm very happy to talk to you. You know, it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards now for 5 to 6 years. And I did do my homework before our call, and I looked at where Jupiter in Libra, which is my ascendant, was 12 years ago and 24 years ago, before I even knew of such a thing. And in both cases, I were 2 of the best years of my life. So on the other hand, the last time that Jupiter was in Taurus, my son, I had Saturn. Saturn was in Libra, so everything, nothing was expansive. It was rough. So anyway, my call today is I want to make the most of this time around, and stop doing with my son in the 8th house. I feel like I'm always kind of recreating the wheel in my life, and I'm exhausting. So I wanted to get your insights on a decision that I made in my career. I guess in August, I was going to let go of all of my writing projects, my television show, my novel, and kind of rededicate to my core business, which has been art advisory, and expand that into interior design, which feels like a natural extension. And even though I'm very sad about the writing, I feel like I gave it all I got. I had tons of meetings all over Hollywood, and the doors opened a little, but they didn't swing open. And, I invested a lot of time and didn't really get a payback. So I feel like it's time to let that go. So that would be like my question, if you're seeing that reflected. And the second thing is love. Like I'm feeling it's time. I want not love and partnership, because to me those things have been separated. So those are my questions.
Well, you've got some really good questions there, Marina, and so let me address them in the same order that you brought them up. So let's talk about your career path at the moment. So today, as we sit here, you have the planet Mercury, the Sun, and Jupiter all passing through your 12th house. And, we've talked probably about the 12th house in your chart before, because you have Pluto and Uranus there by birth. And this is a place of some hidden subconscious things in play. It can be beliefs, it can be fears, it could be places where you are kind of unconsciously or subconsciously sabotaging your forward progression. Now, with Jupiter here, anytime I see Jupiter going through the 12th house, I often think, whoa, somebody is on a path to mastery, because Jupiter is kind of sucking up, if you will, if I can give that picture to you, sucking up all of the dregs from under the surface, bringing it up to the top so that it can be healed. Like lancing a wound, right? You open up the wound, it heals better because the pressure is gone, the pain is gone. And Jupiter's kind of doing that here. It's bringing up some of this unconscious stuff for you. But so is the Sun, and so is Mercury. And those two, by the way, the Sun and Mercury, are right on top of your Pluto-Uranus. So there's a lot going on under the surface, whether, I don't know, maybe it's playing out in your dreams. Maybe there's a bunch of ahas or epiphany type things that are happening for you. But there's a lot going on under the surface. Venus, who is our ruler of the sign Libra, is in Libra right now. So she's been sort of leading, she's been sort of the vanguard, if you will, going through Libra before Jupiter got here. And she's laying the groundwork for what could become of beauty and what can be built out of harmony, and how can we co-create and collaborate in ways that are peaceful and in creating beauty as opposed to creating any kind of ill, if you will, okay? So in this case, she's in your first house. And, where Jupiter's still in the 12th house, she's in the first house. And she's bringing you to this concept of what do I want, right? What do I desire? Because, again, she's the ruler, too, of Taurus, which is all about desires and creating from a place of this is what I want, and I don't let anything get in my way until I get what I want. So what do you want, Marina? I guess that's the question for you now, is to really plumb the depths. And you said that 2004 was a really good year for you. I have no reason to believe that 2016 isn't going to be another good year for you. But I think as we are growing, as we are souls and we are evolving, it means that we probably need to take a more responsible look at what's gone on in our lives. What are we creating? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
And are we creating it from fear and a sense of lack? Do I feel this hole in my life, and that's what I'm filling this hole with things? Or am I going to create from a place of expansion, a place of growth, and a place of gathering wisdom? Because, again, Jupiter's also about gathering wisdom. And it will be a few months, a few weeks to a couple of months, and it will be across your ascendant. It will retrograde, by the way, back across your ascendant. And so you'll have this lesson of coming out, kind of your own personal coming out party over the next couple of months. So that says to me that you can relaunch yourself, brand yourself, if you will, I guess. That's a good word, rebrand, for this next year. You know, really getting back to the basics.
Perhaps?
Oh, that's a good word too, Jason. Thank you. Reinventing yourself.
And I love the fact that Marina is coming out. I love when people come out.
Come out and
I am officially debutante. I am a debutante, so this will be my second coming out.
Okay, great. So you can have your second coming out party, which, by the way, you're coming up at your 50th year this year, right? So you're also coming into, in 2017, you're coming into what will be the biggest coming out party of all, which is when you go through your Chiron return. So the healing of the wounds, the things that have really held you back perhaps in times past. Now, because of timing, let me go to the idea of relationships and partnerships and things like that for you. Of course, Uranus and Eris have been our little friends, and they've been in Aries for, and they will be until next, was it March? I think it is, where they're in this conjunction in Aries, and they're creating a liberation zone, so to speak, where you can become free. And they're in your seventh house of relationship, right? That's the house of marriage, relationship, business partnerships, etc. At some point, our little friend Jupiter in Libra, which is the opposing sign, will be in the opposite position of this Eris-Uranus conjunction. So to me, that is a very picturesque way of saying that you have to bring your life into balance. And if you've been alone for a good deal of time, then there's a relationship that has to come into the picture to balance yourself with. So I wouldn't give up hope that that's in the case. Now, I got to tell you something else that's really very synchronistic, and I love coinkydinks. And that is today your moon sits at the same degree as the moon was when you were born, in the fifth house of joy and romance and love and play. So that tells me that, you know, a new cycle perhaps is starting where that comes into more and more focus. So I have a lot of hope for you in that may be one of the areas of growth for you in this coming year. I mean, how ironic is that, right? I don't think we could plan that.
No, we couldn't plan that.
Nope.
Yeah, well, did you say that Uranus was part of this?
Yes, Uranus is part of this in your seventh house of relationships, which we all know what Uranus does. It brings us surprises, things out of the blue when we least expect it. So there's a huge opening here for you.
I think I may know what it is, and it's like beyond my dreams, so that's good news. Well, this is very, very, very helpful as usual. I'll just like one parting thought. When you were talking about my 12th house, the thing that jumped into my head of like self-sabotage is that I always do things the hard way and want to reset myself in very competitive industries. And right now I'm feeling like I'm going to do the thing that's most easiest for me, that is like effortless, and I've never thought that. And so I think that sounds like a 12th house aha, doesn't it?
It does. But you know what? There's something else here that niggles at me about that, is that you used some buzzwords here about a competitive industry and so forth. And the Black Moon Lilith, she's vitally involved in this particular lunation. And she's moving through the sign of Scorpio, which is the fear of things like competition and death and rebirth, where we always, everything becomes a competition to us. And so what we're learning with that is the shadow of competition is something that creates strain and stress and tension. And do we want that or not? I don't think we do. So
yeah, beautifully said. Yeah.
Big opening here.
I feel it.
All right,
I
Marina.
feel it. Thank you so much. All the best.
You are most welcome. Thanks so much.
I enjoyed your call last week, by the way, Jason. All the best, guys.
I'm so glad, and thank you.
Oh, wait, Jason. Wait, before you hang up, Marina. Jason, do you feel the need to draw a card for her that might, add some flavor to this?
I came in after I was screening somebody in the background, because I don't know whether the listeners know, but when I'm screening, I can't hear what's going on. So I get bits and pieces. So I tuned in real quick, and I said, let me just pull a card and see what's going on with her. Marina, okay. I pulled the very first card that's before the first card of the major arcana, and it is called the Fool. Now, I don't want you to think that we're calling you a fool, but what I want to tell you is I don't know whether you're in a relationship or not. I get the sense that you're not in a relationship. Is that correct?
No.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
Listen to me. My gut went crazy through the ceiling. I want you to go out. I want you to get a makeover. I don't care how difficult it is for you. I don't care if you think it's superficial. I want you to go out, pretty yourself up, because the Fool here is showing me beautiful butterfly wings, and you are literally dancing through the air, and the next guy or gal or whoever it is that you're interested in is going to actually be extremely the dog here that's behind signifies fidelity. So you're not going to have to worry about this person being, somebody who's philandering around town. But what's fantastic about the card is that it shows that you're protected. The next relationship you decide to get into, you can't go wrong with this one. So keep your eyes peeled, go get yourself gussied up, and go forward without any kind of fear. Let that scorpion energy rule your, how shall I say, basal chakra, and go have some fun.
Nice.
Well, Jason, thank you so much. There is a very early online flirtation with somebody that's actually famous in my industry, and I thought I was imagining it, but I keep dreaming of it, and you just confirmed to me. So I'm going to flirt.
I love this person. I love the fact that he is not how do I say this politely? A screw around? I don't know what word to use. A walkabout?
No,
but
he's
anyway,
a player.
Solid. Yeah.
A player. There you go. So it was lovely having you on, Marina.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you for your generosity. Both of you guys have a wonderful day.
You take care, Marina.
I'm going to put you back on the line so that, Marina, you can listen to the rest of the show, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Janet, I have Evelyn on the line, who's the 717 number.
Hello,
so I'm
Evelyn.
going to bring Evelyn
she's not
on in.
She's not. Okay,
Evelyn,
bring her
are
in.
you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Hello.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Hi,
Evelyn.
Hilarious. Hi, Janet. Thank you.
So, Evelyn, how are you doing? And tell me what's up with you. What can I help you with today? Evelyn?
Hold on. My computer just had a...
Oh, yes.
There she is.
Okay, I just heard unmuted, so I'm unmuted again. Hello.
Yes.
Hello
okay,
again.
Great.
So, now
that
there
you go. Yeah,
so
I'm kind of glad. So I beeped out because it's funny. I didn't want to be really specific about any questions because I feel like if you look at my chart, things will pop out at you. However, the Jupiter thing, definitely I want to hear about. And I guess just whatever pops out. There are questions, but I really feel like you probably have initial things that you saw. especially relative to
Yeah,
Jupiter.
for one thing, you, just like Marina, the girl that was on before you, you have this opposite thing going on. You're both going to be 50 in 2017, and where her rising sign is Libra, your descendant is Libra. So you're just kind of like a mirror image, I guess you could say, of each other.
Oh, weird.
So what's happening,
okay, cool.
Yeah, so initially right now, Jupiter is moving through the sixth house, which is the house of your work, the work that you do, not the career or professional choice, but like the atmosphere you work in, the people you work with, etc. But this is also the house of health. Are you experiencing any health issues right now, or have you been? Because there's a lot of focus right now in that house.
Oh, really? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I've been pretty healthy a good long while. Like,
this is good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, years ago, like between 4 and 7 years, I was on a journey. I completely healed myself, but besides that, I'm like totally healthy.
So what you're reaping now then are the benefits of those life changes that you made, or those dietary changes or exercise changes, whatever it was that you went through at that time. You've strengthened yourself. Now, what this can mean then is that this time period with Mercury, the Sun, and Jupiter all moving through the sixth house, is that the focus is on the work that you do. What kind of work are you doing right now in the world?
Wow, that's hilarious. Yeah, just being. Spirit took me on a journey for the past 18 months to 2 years. I've been traveling and just doing a lot of things that keep calling me, that will be utilized as things keep changing and expanding. So just being is really my focus. My kids are older. Actually, I came back to my hometown because my one daughter just had twin boys 2 weeks ago, and I've been her partner all summer through this whole process and laboring and even taking care of them. And I just got like a couple hours away just now to do this call. So yeah, I'm not working. I'm being, and I'm hoping I'm a great example for the rest of the folks that are going to follow.
Right. I have this interesting thing that I say to people, because so often we get into the doing of our lives, and you are a human being, not a human doing. So when we're talking
it to everyone.
Good for you, because maybe that's the whole thing about the work that you're here to do next. It's about being that example of how we can be in our bodies and be doing whatever shows up in our world without having to feel the pressure of doing anything. Because a lot of us you can ask Jason, I had a little meltdown myself this morning about the doing part of everything.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I even have to remember my own words to people, is that I'm a human being, and sometimes the being is what you need to be in order to get perspective on what to do next, or where to go next, or who to be next. So all of that sets the stage for you, as Jupiter is, going to move eventually into your house of relationship. And are you married or in a relationship right now?
No, I've been solitary since 2012. But I am getting ready not to be.
Getting ready not to be. I love that, because now Venus is moving through your seventh house of relationship. Kind of, remember I said Venus is sort of passing through ahead of Jupiter, preparing the ground. It's like the rototiller that you have to come through, or the plow. It plows up the ground, readies it for the seed. And that's pretty much what Venus is doing as the ruler of Libra. What she's doing is preparing the way for the Jupiter growth to follow. So I would say that the next growth opportunities for you are definitely in the realm of the relationship house, and how do we build from there. Now, you have something else. Your natal Jupiter is in Leo and in the fifth house, and that is really the house that it rules in the chart. So your life
that's
is
amazing.
It is really, because it's very powerful in a clue that you're meant to do what comes from the heart. I think the hardest path for Leo to follow, or any planets in Leo, and your Venus is in Leo as well as Ceres, so you've got 3 bodies in Leo asking you to follow your heart and to do what feels good to you. What feels like play is really kind of your work. If you were to tell me that your work was traveling around the country playing with your grandkids or,
Yep.
family, I would say that's perfectly in alignment with what you're meant to be doing because you're following your heart, right? You're following your heart.
Incredible.
So that's
That
very
is so amazing, Janet. You have no idea the confirmation that you're giving me. This has been so hard. I used to be in TV advertising. I used to be so stress-ridden. There was so much, like, deconstructing the life and really moving to do this and finally feeling that, embracing it, and having dropped in. I spent 5 months in Hawaii this winter. And it really hit me like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. The fretting about it and, no one else, everybody, kind of looks at you sideways, and I get it. Like, I've been there 3D. I get it. Some people, it takes a while to come along. But to hear you say this, because, every once in a while the ego wants to say, what are you doing? Are you crazy?
Yes. Are you crazy? But let me tell you this too. Your destiny, your life path or your destiny is sitting in Taurus. And, I like to call Taurians my master manifestors because they are really here. When they're on fire, a Taurus can't be stopped, right? They can't be stopped. They're literally that bull that gets that momentum running. And, they crash through every obstacle, every wall, every brick that has been laid in front of them because, when they finally get clarity on what they desire, they don't brook any argument, right? They just say, this is it. I'm going, and that's where it's going to be, and that's the way it's going to be, and get out of my way. So in reality, that's kind of, your destiny to lay that template for where do I want to go, who do I want to be, and then aiming yourself in that direction. So you're really just doing what's come up through destiny for you, right? So don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody stop you. Just keep doing what you're meant to be doing.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I would love to pipe in real quick.
Go right ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'm laughing because on you, Evelyn, I pulled 3 cards. I do the 3-card pull, immediate past, immediate present, and immediate future. And I'm sitting here, I peed an inch laughing. The first card I pulled on you is the Prince of Swords. You can go back and listen to my video upload for Janet about the Prince of Swords. The immediate past card for you, Prince of Swords, it's called the Rebel, which I just started laughing. And it shows that in the immediate past, you have gone against the grain and you've become the rebel, doing things your own way, at your own time, in your own, and to stay the course. The immediate present is hysterical because as opposed to the lady before who has the 0 card, which is the Fool, you have the first card of the major arcana. It's called the Magician. It means you have finally come full circle back around and you have all of the tools you need to create magic. You've got the wands, you've got infinity, you have Hermes wings on you. You have all of the ingredients now, finally, that you need to create magic with. And then I pulled the 3rd card, and I started to laugh. I'm going to give you the same exact advice that I gave the last lady. The last card for the immediate future is the 2 of Cups, and in this deck are these beautiful swans whose necks are intertwined. And it talks about love and relationship. The next one is going to knock you off your caboose. I want you to get out there. Grandma, I want you to get out there. I want you to go to the salon. I want you to pick yourself up some pretty clothes. And I want you to go out and be involved with people. Because the next one is a wonderful, and I want you to look for a guy who seems kind of like Buddha. Because, I'm not saying heavy set, but I want you to get a guy that seems really sort of calm and cool, because this calming energy, the Buddha-like energy that's represented in the lotus flower here at the card, is going to be the thing that turns you on.
Yes!
No frenetic, high-strung idiots like you're used to in the advertising world. I want somebody who literally looks like they spent half their life smoking a big bong, but isn't really. Okay? All right. So that's my reading for you. And Janet,
I love you guys.
If you're done with Evelyn,
I'm done with Evelyn. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you back in the queue, Evelyn. And the next lady that I'm going to bring up for you has been waiting patiently. Her name is Katie. So I'm going to bring Katie in. Are you there, Katie?
Jason?
Yes.
Before you get all, twisted here, the next person I want to take is Julia. I mean, Katie, I'm going to take Katie now, but then right after her is Julia, because tomorrow is Julia's birthday, and I want to make sure we get to her, okay?
Not a problem. So my bad, Katie. You have to go back to the queue and I'll
No. Leave Katie on. I'll take her right now, but I just want to make sure I get to Julia today, okay?
Okay. I will make sure that Julia knows.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Katie, how's life going for you?
Oh, you got a couple hours?
Not today, perhaps.
No.
To sum it up, it's like kind of a tornado, whirlwind, I guess. And so I'm kind of like the last caller. I was really just kind of let you see what pops out. The relationships and career finances are definitely an interest, but I'll just see what you see.
Well, it looks to me as if the pressure on you is really about, number one, health. The health house by birth for you is very busy. How is your physical being?
I mean, I have ADD or ADHD, so I'm very scatterbrained, all over the place. But I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't really have any motivation. It's a little energized now, but I'm just kind of letting myself go, I guess. I haven't really been taking care of myself in that sense.
Okay. Here's the number one thing that you need to do. One, you need to stop being a people pleaser, and you need to go out in the world and please yourself. What is it you want to do? That is the biggest question for you to ask yourself. Or let me rephrase that. What do you want in your life? Because like the lady before you, you have your destiny in Taurus. And as fun and free and carefree as she was in her life is pretty much what you're also designed to have. Maybe not in the exact same way that she has it, but you're definitely a destiny in Taurus. And the biggest lesson here is going to be not giving up on yourself, okay? Not giving up on yourself. So, I want you as a Taurus destiny, I want you outside with your feet firmly planted on the ground, hugging a tree if you have to be grounded, right? Because ADD is one of those things where the mind is getting taken away, right? Your thinking processes cause you to move from one thing to another. One way to combat that is to make sure your feet are firmly planted on the earth. Now, I don't know where you live, but if it's,
I'm in Kentucky.
Oh, you are in Kentucky. Okay, so it's still warmish there. So you could still go outside, get those feet in the ground, garden or even just meditate outside. Because you really are designed, and you're only, 29? You're going to be, you turned 30 in January.
I turned 30 in January.
Yeah. So you've just come through your Saturn return, your first one. And so what you're really looking at now is, who do I want to be as I move forward? Because what you see at age 29, anywhere from 28 to 30, is that I have to make some decisions. I have to grow up. Exactly. I have to get in alignment with where I want to be, because I'm not getting any younger, right? Those days of the 20s, carefree, playful days give way to being a little more serious, to being a little more, and when I say serious, I don't mean go out there and get a job and do what the old folks tell you to do. I mean, get some clarity on what is right for you, okay? Get clear on what direction you want to go in. And part of this is hidden from you, right? Because your destiny sits in that 12th house of the hidden. And there can be some fears involved, right? There can be some fear of lack and scarcity that you came to the planet with, where you have to learn about abundance, and you have to learn about flow, and you have to learn about, how do I create abundance in my life?
Exactly, yeah.
Right? And the way you create abundance in your life is by doing what you desire. You get out of the way. When I'm doing human design readings for people, I always will tell them, your job is to figure out the what do you want, right? Not the how. So get out of the how and get back to your what. And that's going to save your little butt, right? Because you are designed you are meant to have a very fulfilling life. And, my guess is even at some point, maybe, you're coaching people or you're helping people find their own pathways. But you got to first stop people pleasing, right? You got to first stop doing what other people think you should do and get clear on what you want and then move forward. Now, Jupiter for you is going to be moving through the 5th house of children, of joy, of play, of taking some risks. So you may have to jump out there in a way that you've not done before and dare. I'm going to tell you this, just dare to live a different life. Dare to live your own path. Okay, Katie?
Okay.
Can you do that?
That's what I'm struggling with. Currently I'm in a relationship I've been in for about 5 years. That's been about 4 years too long. And I just recently was let go from my job. I do have a 4-year-old son. My boyfriend whom I live with, it's not his son, but he's been with me since he was born. So I feel like all these transformations are taking place. And
yeah,
it's hard to move forward.
But bless your heart, you have Pluto transiting through your 8th house of death and rebirth. So there is a process that you are undergoing. It's like, putting the turkey in, to the oven on Thanksgiving Day. You can't just pull it out in 30 minutes and expect to eat, right? Unless, you eat raw turkey, which I doubt. So you're not done cooking yet, right? You got to put the turkey in the oven. You have to put Katie out there in a way that makes sense for her. I see, and I rarely tell people this, but I don't think this relationship is going to last much longer because Saturn is moving up to your Uranus, and there's going to be probably a blow up or something that happens to cause you to part ways, and it may not be very amicable. So I think you could go a long way right now to building up credibility in this is what I want, and you and I are going in different paths. We're diverging, and I think it's just time for us to part as friends so that you don't have to have that kind of bang, sort of we're done, get lost, get out of here, it's ugly, and, that kind of thing. So start working on that right now.
I hate to interrupt, but I just wanted to keep you on track. We have about 8 minutes left for the show, and I do know that you have one more person to hit before we say goodnight.
Correct. Thank you so much. So, Katie, take down my email address, Janet, Janet, at living-astrology.com. And make sure you keep in contact with me a little bit about what goes on because, sometimes the kind of blow up that I've seen that perhaps can happen can be dangerous. It can be ugly. And I want to be able to maybe even coach you through how to handle that as it approaches. You're still a couple months out from that, but that gives you time to get ready to build what you need to in order to part friendly-like, okay?
Thank you.
Katie,
right,
thank you. I'm going to put you back in the queue.
Okay,
all right, thanks so much, Katie. Thank you. Thanks, Jason, for keeping me on track here. And while we're waiting for Julia to come in, I just want to tell everybody that next week on Living Astrology, my friend Anaya Joy Holili will be joining us from Australia. She is a very dear angel reader from down under, excellent at reading the angels, and we're going to be talking about how to listen to the angels, how to tune into the angels, and she will be doing some angel readings for us in the second half of the show. Go
Wonderful.
for Julia. Julia.
We have Julia on the line now for you.
I'm here. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday to you. I don't sing very well, so I'm not going to sing the whole song, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And, I have your chart up in front of me, and I wanted to make sure I want to have a birthday chart up, and I don't know for sure where you live. Are you in Ohio still?
I'm in Davenport, Florida.
Okay, so let me change this really quickly. And in the meantime, tell me how things are going in your life.
Oh, wow. This last year and a half has been just huge changes. I divorced after 31 years of marriage. I moved from Colorado to Florida, and now I'm kind of, regrouping, and my next step is to find my own place to live and find employment and just kind of get my life back on track and moving forward.
All of
that was
that's going to
perfect
happen.
timing.
All of that's going to happen. I just pulled a card, and all of that's going to happen. Do you have her chart up yet?
I do. I just got her. What I was pulling up for you, Julia, is your solar return chart, because that's going to give us an idea of what the likely themes are developing for you as we move into the next year. Now, technically speaking, astrologically speaking, your birthday is occurring today at 7:25 p.m. Now, that's in West Coast time, so that makes it, 10 p.m. your time tonight is when your actual birthday will occur. So astrologically, a birthday occurs when the sun comes back to the exact same point it was in the zodiac on your the day that you were born. So because we play with our calendar, like this year was a leap year, we added a day, so it's never quite on the same day or at the same time. So now how interesting also to have a birthday on the day of a lunar eclipse. So there's a bunch of things. This is a great window of time to let go, right, to let things go. And for you, the sun on your birthday comes back in the 7th house, which is about building different relationships, new partnerships. And, of course, that puts the sun very close to Jupiter, which is also going to put a lot of focus on that this year for you. And letting go or bringing, you said you left your husband or your partner last year, right?
It actually was finalized this year, in January of this year.
Mm-hmm. So when I look at a birthday, it's from today until this time next year. And it appears that there will be some building of new relationships for you in this ensuing year. And it can also be the healing of the debris of this past relationship, right? So it doesn't mean that you and he come back together or anything like that. It just means that, a lot of times when we go through a breakup, it leaves us shattered in some way. So this could be a really good year for you to put the pieces back together and build up something that's really meaningful for you. Now let's look at the moon, because of course it's also involved in this birthday, and it's going to be in your 12th house. And it's conjunct Neptune and Chiron on your birthday at this birth time tonight. And so we put a lot of emphasis then on clearing out your subconscious. Have you heard what's going on in your head, right? Are you listening to the self-talk? This is happening in Pisces, and that means it's about compassion. And a lot of us are really good at being compassionate to others, but we forget about being compassionate to ourselves. All right? So be very clear as to how you're speaking to yourself. If you find that you wouldn't speak to your worst enemy that way, then why are you speaking to yourself that way? So getting, a new image of yourself, a new foundation for you is going to be important in this coming year. Jason, I don't know where we are on time, but you pulled some cards. So what are you seeing in the cards?
We have about a 3-minute warning. So I pulled just 2 cards for her, and they're very exciting cards because the first card that came up was the emergence card, which means there's a little cocoon person down below, but up above there's a butterfly with wings, and she is coming out, and she is emerging into her new self. And I don't know whether you're getting a settlement from this guy. I don't know what is happening, but you, darling, have come into the Queen of Discs. Your immediate future shows the Queen of Discs. She is happy. She is surrounded by nature. She is surrounded by happiness. She is surrounded by excess. So I don't want you to look at yourself at a deficit. You need to make sure that you look at yourself as full and happy, because things are going to be looking really good for you come the immediate future.
Nice.
Yay.
And I see that too. I see a little bit of a delay in this. However, to me, I think emergence is a process, and that you are in this process of emerging.
Yes.
And that means healing, and that means putting the wound to rest, and that means reconnecting parts of yourself that you let go during the relationship. So a lot of healing, a lot of inner work going on for you this year, but definitely an emergence in process. And a lot of your growth then will be happening along what do you want for yourself? What are you trying to create? All right, so
you have about 40 seconds left, my kind lady.
Okay, so let me give you, I think you probably heard my email address, Janet at living-astrology.com because I have more to tell you about that, and so I want to make sure you contact me with your email address, okay?
Okay.
And if anybody out there is interested,
thank you.
Mine is zenstaging@gmail.com.
zenstaging@gmail.com. And
That's
to
right.
Wendy, who's out there waiting for us to do a reading for her, I want you to also contact me at janet@living-astrology.com with a question, and I'll be happy to take a look at your chart. Perfect.
Wonderful.
All right. Jason, thank you so much for keeping me on track today. I love you. Thank you so much, listeners.
Too.
We love you too, because without you, we have nothing to say. And I wish everybody a happy, safe, full moon lunar eclipse, and have a stellar week.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you for joining me today on Living Astrology. Living Astrology is part of the Empower You Media Network. You can find out more by going to www.living-astrology.com or by going to www.empoweryoumedia.com. If you would like to find out when our shows are airing, you can follow us at Blog Talk Radio under Living Astrology. Please consider liking us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Living Astrology and also Empower You Media. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now. Have a stellar week.